Alright, so you've spent several hours getting this working, but now the amount of code that's in here is enormous. How do we fix this? This should be simple. One good thing is we're looping through. We have a for statement, the job demo. We have a header. This part could be factored out, and we have content. So in content, we have a status, and we have a start date and an end date. Now, I want you to note that the start and end date are pretty much the same. The only difference is in the end date, you have this, where it's checking to see if the job end is defined. Keep that in mind when we refactor. Let's begin by looking at factoring out the header. So we're going to take this right here. We're going to copy this. So I'm going to go to another branch here just so that you can see what I did. I copied that and I pasted it. So I created a job header component, and in the HTML of that component, I pasted what I copied. And then I went in and I set up the job to match job status. Now, I did some additional refactoring, but I have a job status model. And up here is my job status model. So here's a job status record, and here's the status. In here, you've got a Boolean to say if it's disabled or not. The ID is how the database keeps track of it. If we go back into here now, this was taken from here. What I did now is I have this accordion header. This is where all of this is going to reside. So if I click on job header, it should take me here, and this is looking for the job input. So panel.job, and remember the job, this is the .job, so it's job status. So only this is being passed in to the header, and that's all I need. So I get my job status, and then job, because this is an input, see it's an input right here? Because this is an input, I have to write it like this. Now, name may or may not be defined. That's why I have a question mark, period, name. So this is a property of the object that's in this input here. And then here's the percentage for my progress bar. And then my status, so my job status. So I have completed, working, cleanup, and error. And I list it there. So that's going to show my header for my accordion. So right here's the header in the accordion. This was factored out. Now we're going to look at factoring out the message here, the status, and the completed. So if we go here, we have error and the error message. We have a start and our end time. Okay, so if we go down here, we don't have an end time yet, but we have a start. Let's take a look at factoring out the job status part of it. It's going to be in these divs here. And so we've got all of our panel job status. We're going to copy this. So let's go over to where I factored this out. I'm going to create a job status component, and in the HTML, I'm going to paste that job status. Now I'm going to go through and I'm going to change what we had. So where it says panel.job.status, I'm going to change that to job, open close parenthesis, question mark dot status. The reason being is that's an input now. So job is the job status object. As an input, we can use that here. Let's see how that looks over in the web side of things. Now over here, we've opened this up. You can see here's the completed, and here's an error, and here is retrieving, it's working. So that explains how we do that part of it. Now let's discuss how we factor out the start and the end date in time. It's important to note that this is the start block and this is the end block. Don't make two separate components. They're actually the same. The only difference is this if statement, and you can leave the if statement in here so it wouldn't matter. So what we're going to do is we're going to make start and end as a parameter to the object, and we're going to create another component and factor this into that component. Now I want you to remember the start and the end. I want you to understand how we're going to use that, but this is the one that we're going to copy into our component, and you'll see how this gets changed so it won't be end or start. It'll just say date, and it'll be the date that's in that particular record. So let's go over and look at the factored out version, and let's look at job date here. So let's look at the input first of all. I have a date type. This is going to be start or end, and this is the actual date that's being passed. Now if you'll notice down here in the job where we're passing, here's the date type, it's start, and here's end. Now I could have just set this up, instead of just being a string, I could have set it up so that it has to be a string of either start or end. You might want to do that in your case there, but in my example I'm just using string because I'm not concerned about what type I'm passing in, what kind of string. So what you need then is with this, now when you go into the HTML, remember that if statement. So I'm checking to see if date is undefined. If it's undefined, I just don't show the date, but I'm passing the date type followed by a colon right here, and that will allow me to use the same component here for both the start and the end. Let's see how that looks over on the web. So here we have a start and we have an end, and let's go look at one that's not done yet. So here's start and here's end. Notice there's nothing here for the end. That's the if statement, removing that so you don't have to deal with it. To recap, this is the before picture on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side is the refactored. So in the refactoring, I created more components, 3 more components, but it's a lot easier to work with than all of this. And when I'm in those components, I know exactly what I'm dealing with. When I'm dealing with this over here, it's just a lot of noise. And it's important as a developer to cut down on noise, because you have to track so much, and keeping track of it can get overwhelming. I hope explaining how I refactored this helps you understand the benefit of refactoring and how easy it is to do. It only took a few minutes to actually do the refactoring, and I didn't change any logic. I kept it, but I injected components in there. So please leave your comments if you have any questions or concerns about this, and I'll continue to make more. Thank you.